and welcome to Nirmal Bang, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hiral Dadia. We have with us Sanjay Thapar, Executive Director and CEO, along with Mr. K.A. Joseph, Managing Director at SJS Enterprise, joining in. Welcome to the show, gentlemen, and a pleasure to speak to you, and wishing you a happy Dhanteras and a happy Diwali and a prosperous New Year from Nirmal Bang family as well.
Happy Dhanteras to you, Hiral.
Thank you. Same to you too.
Thank you. Overall, let my first question come to you. In fact, before my question, congratulations as well for crossing one of the major milestones, which is always there in the history of a company which is looking to grow in terms of the IPO. My first question coming to you is, if you could just help us understand what the anchor book has looked like.
Yeah, so the anchor book, we have a lot of marquee investors in the anchor book. And so the anchor book issue opened on the 29th. So that is subscribed, and now we have these companies interested in participating in the main book. So that's good. So we have a lot of international and domestic players also in the anchor book. So we have names like Goldman Sachs, we have Tara Capital, we have all the mutual funds in India, quite a few of them as well.
Nomura. And okay, so
right.
Yeah, so that's subscribed fully, of course.
Right. So that's with regards to where the anchor book goes. In terms of the fundraising, if you could help us understand how much are we raising in total? How are we going to use the funds overall?
So 800 crores is being raised through an OFS, and the promoter group consisting of Evergraph Capital, which is a private equity fund, and K.A. Joseph. So they are offloading their shares, and typically the price band, as you would be aware, is 531 to rupees 542 per share. The issue is already open, so 1st of November to 3rd of November. So post dilution of these shares by these two promoters, a part of the shares, they would have 50.3% stake in the company, and we would also have
right. And overall, if you see in terms of where business is concerned, overall, the company is a design to delivery aesthetic solution provider. If you could just help us understand more in terms of business, how has the growth been since the time of inception, etc.
Okay, as a company, so we are in a company in the decorative and aesthetic space. We supply to a wide range of industries, primarily the automotive and the consumer appliance industries. And in the automotive, it is two-wheelers and four-wheelers both. So over the years, so if I were to give you data from 2014 to 2020, we've grown at 2 times the average compounded growth rate of the industry. So we are growing almost 2 times faster than the underlying industry that we serve. And the outlook also continues to be positive, because over the years we've created, especially in the last 3 to 4 years, we've added some high technology products, and they cater to the trend towards premiumization that we see in the industry, both for appliances as well as for automotive. And that is driving demand for us, and our order book looks robust.
Right. So overall, as you mentioned, automobiles is something that we are operational with, consumer appliances, medical devices, farm equipment, sanitary ware. So a host of industries that we as a company cater to. Where have you seen traction, and from where do we see majority of the revenues flowing in?
Joe, you like to answer that, please?
The majority of the revenues will continue to be from the auto sector, because about 70% of our business comes from the automotive industry. Of course, in turn, out of the 70%, about 50% right now is from the two-wheeler segment, and about 20% from the four-wheeler segment. And about 30% comes from the appliance segment as such. So that is how it has been, the revenue spread. But
So,
yeah, please.
yeah, go on.
No, so apart from this, now we are foraying into specific areas like medical electronics, medical devices. So in those areas also we'll be entering into those segments as well shortly. So
Right. So with all of this said and done, how was the impact of COVID in terms of business, taking into consideration the segments of business that we operate in? Because auto, yes, initially was a lull. We did see a lot of pent-up demand that started to come in the third and the fourth quarter. And then again, we've started to see some bit of a slowdown that has started creeping in. So how are you viewing industries like that basis the business that you get?
no, if you compare our revenues in FY21, the underlying industry because of COVID, degrew by about 10 to, between 12 to 13%. On the contrary, what happened to us was we grew by 16 odd percent. So this was essentially brought in by the premiumization of content that what we are supplying. So even though the numbers have come down, the value per component essentially has gone up, and that has helped us to increase our sales. That is how it has been for us. Sanjay, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, so thanks to the new products that we have, and so we see traction actually in all these segments. Exports for us continues to go very strongly. So 2 years ago, exports were just 10% of our sales. Last year, we did about 17% of our sales. So a lot of these new products that we've launched address the needs of the global market, and we have grown and we see very strong traction there. Also, the domestic market, thanks to the number of products that we have increased the content per vehicle, and that has also driven growth. So we expect this trend to continue.
Right. So with this trend, if you have to look at, say, the top 5 or top 10 clients that you have, what percentage of the revenues come from the top 10 clients?
So top 10 clients last year constituted about 75% of our sales. Now, for a company, typical auto component companies tend to be 1 or 2 OEMs tend to occupy a lot of market. They cater to those in a large manner. SGS is a very diversified company. So our sales to the largest customer that we have in revenue terms is not more than 21%. That also across 3 locations. And as I said, the segments that we serve are automotive, consumer appliances, and multiple customers within this. So we are a very diversified company, not only in terms of products, but also in terms of customers and also in terms of geography. So as I said, exports is growing very rapidly. So not just India, it's a global story.
Right. And taking into consideration that you have such a diverse portfolio, I know asking a question with regards to market share on a blended basis is not really the correct matrix. But overall, if you have to divide it in terms of the top segments that contribute to your revenues, what's the kind of market share that we hold in all, if you have to just look at, say, automobiles or consumer durables?
So market share calculation, so at an average, let me say that we have about 25% market share in India. Having said that, because we have a wide range of products and these are decorative products. So depending on the model that the OEM introduces, you have 1 or 2 or 3 parts that go into it. So the content per vehicle or per appliance is different from model to model. So there are many products where we are single source. So we have 100% market share. In some places, we don't supply to a model, for example. But on an overall basis, a fair guess is about 25% market share in India. Of course, we are very minuscule compared to the global market. So CRISIL did an estimate that what is the size of the global market? It was about $2.4 billion. So we are just at the cusp of attacking that large market. So honestly, our view is that we need to be, we are focused on being a global player. And we see a huge runway for growth for us, both in the domestic and the export markets.
Right. And overall, if you see in terms of where, business is concerned, we've seen the last couple of years, the way business has come through. What's the kind of growth that we're anticipating? I know you can't give forward-looking statements, but will we be able to maintain the CAGR growth that we've seen in the last 3 to 4 years?
Yeah, so you're right. So my merchant bankers forbid me from making forward-looking statements, but that's what I said. if you look at the last 10 years or so, so we've grown very strongly, 2 times the rate of the industry growth. Now, CRISIL did a market mapping report where they said that the automotive and the appliance market is likely to go at about 10-12% CAGR over the next 5 years. But the decorative market, CRISIL estimated, would grow at much faster at about 20% CAGR growth. We've outperformed the market, so you can do the math. So we are very bullish.
Absolutely. And overall, what's the current capacity utilization if you have to take both the plants at Pune and Bangalore? I think one of the plants is a recent acquisition as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. See, we built a state-of-the-art facility in 2018, about 235,000 square feet facility. And currently we are, just about 50% utilization out here.
Okay.
And even in our Pune plant, it is probably running about 50 to 55% capacity at the moment. So we don't see any requirement for us to, go for, large capacity enhancement for the next 3 to 4 years.
Right.
So incremental capital will be required for changes. Yes.
Right. And any newer segments of business that we are looking to enter?
Yes. So, Sanjay,
so
go ahead.
we've incubated a lot of technologies. Most of these technologies are sponsored by the customers. So customers come to us in advance because we have a very strong relationship with our key customers, more than 15 years at an average. So they come to us for ideas for new product concepts. And we have a clear window moving forward what they want. So a lot of these technologies are thanks to customers demanding them for us. So over the years, we've introduced those form dials, as I said, IML, IMD parts. So now we are taking it one step further. So we hope to build what are called electronics enabled solutions for IML. So these are called in-molded electronics, where you have a functional layer of electronics superimposed with a printed layer of the graphic printing that we do and injection molded. So we are working on these concepts, and in the future, we hope to roll this out. Also, there's a big push that we have in terms of displays. So at the moment, we are doing what are called optical plastic parts. And moving forward, we will do even more and more sophisticated display parts that go into the display system for navigation screens and display screens within the car. So these are some of the few ideas that we are working on. Of course, we have many more in the pipeline, but for a later date, we'll, as and when we
launch them,
launch these products, we will come, we'll declare that to the market.
Right. And very lastly, overall, if you go to see in terms of where risks are concerned, how big a risk is raw material cost pressure, which could impact margins? That's one. And secondly, on the positive, is R&D a big part of your expenses? Is the company R&D focused?
We are extremely R&D focused. So we have 46 people in the company who do nothing with the day-to-day business of the company, all future focused. So that's a huge investment that we've made. Even equipment, we've earmarked separately for R&D, and that's helped us launch many new technologies over the last 3 to 4 years. And in fact, we've launched 5 new technology products, and they are now into serial production in the last 3 years, which is a very creditable achievement. That's what our customers tell us. So we are quite focused on R&D. As far as the expense goes, it is not much. It's just about 1-2% of our revenues, and moving forward, we feel that that is adequate for us to grow, unless of course we enter into a too different area. But for the moment, we don't foresee R&D expenses growing too much. So we are already at the same level as we are. And to give
on the raw material costs?
Yeah, the raw materials at an average, we are about 40% of our sales is raw materials, and that of scope across various products that we buy. We buy a lot of inks, we buy a lot of films, we buy a lot of adhesives, and so we don't see any challenges there because our margins are extremely robust, and the increase in raw material cost for a decorative products get priced in every time there's a refresh. The decorative products that we make, every 1 year, 1.5 years, there's a refresh or a change that happens. Different colors are required, different styling is required. So we calibrate prices to the current levels of raw materials. So that helps us. Just to give you a sense, how does raw material play in terms of our margins? So last year, on a consolidated basis, we acquired a company earlier this year. We did a revenue of about 320 crores. Okay, and out of that 320 crores for SGS, on a standalone basis, our EBITDA was 31.68%, which is amongst the highest in the manufacturing sector. So you don't have very many manufacturing companies that earn a 30% EBITDA. And even on a blended basis, when we combine Extratech with SGS, we were doing about 29.22%. And our PAT margin was close to about 19% or 18.98% specifically for SGS. So, and we generate a lot of free cash. So we generate about 64% of our EBITDAs translates into free cash for growth of the company. So, and this profile we maintained consistently over the last 7 to 8 years. So our ROCs and our EBITDAs are in the range of about 27 to 30%. And that is proof that raw material cost, even though it increases, we've been able to contain it through value engineering, through this refreshes that I said. So we are a very strong, financially very strong company, which is able to manage raw material and input cost pressures very well.
Right. And Mr. Joseph, any closing comments from you as well?
Yeah, I mean, so this is a new experiment for us, and the first time going for an IPO. So we'll have to wait and watch. And as things go, things are looking good. That's it. And we'll continue to grow. Yeah.
Absolutely. Good luck for the journey that you guys have embarked on. Congratulations once again on the IPO, and we will be waiting for the listing as well, and hope to speak to you guys soon again. Thank you so much, Mr. Thapar and Mr. Joseph, for joining us on the show. And again, greetings for the festive season.
Thank you, Hiru. Wish you a happy Diwali in advance.
Thank you.
Bye.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel for in-depth interviews of India Inc. and press the bell icon so that you do not miss our updates.